I came home from a 3-week electrical job in Tulsa, expecting to find my wife in the garden. That was the picture I carried the whole drive back. Late September light going gold around Fort Dew, Eleanor in her straw hat pulling tomato vines, me honking twice, her straightening up slow because of her hip, waving with a dirty glove. That's not what I found. The driveway was empty. The garden looked abandoned. Tomatoes split and rotting on the ground. The basil she babied like a third child gone to seed. Eleanor would never let that happen. Not for any reason. The house had a smell. Not bad, just wrong. Like nobody had opened a window in weeks. I found her in the back bedroom, sitting on the edge of the daybed, hands folded, crying without a sound. I'm 68. In 41 years of marriage, I'd seen my wife cry maybe 5 times. And never like this. Silent, hollow, her hands ice cold in a warm house. When I asked what happened, she just shook her head. I sat with her for an hour, holding her hands, waiting, because I know this woman, and pushing her would only close her tighter. Finally, she said in a voice I didn't recognize, "I want to go to bed." It was 4 in the afternoon. She walked down the hallway like someone who'd been broken down piece by piece. Once she was asleep, I started looking. A bathroom scale sat by the back door, wrong room for it, with a notepad underneath in Eleanor's shaky handwriting. A log of weights over 2.5 weeks. First entry, 141. Last entry, 2 days prior, 128. 13 pounds gone from a woman who walked 2 miles a day and could hoist a 50-pound mulch bag alone. My hands, steady through 36 years of climbing poles and ice storms, started shaking. The fridge was nearly empty. Spoiled milk, 3 unopened expired yogurts, a jar of pickles. This from a woman who kept a kitchen the way other people keep a shrine. In the trash, I found a styrofoam container from the diner on Route 9. A name written on the lid in Sharpie, not Eleanor's, Marisol's, my son Daniel's wife of 9 years. The one who'd volunteered so sweetly to look in on Eleanor while I was gone. Family takes care of family, she'd told me. I'd thanked her. I went to the garage and pulled up the security camera app. I'd nearly forgotten about it. Hundreds of motion clips. I started scrolling through the 3 weeks I'd been away. Marisol's blue Honda parking so it blocked the view through the front window. Coming and going at odd hours. 10 at night, 6 o'clock in the morning. Small bags in, different bags out. One clip stopped me cold. Our neighbor, Mrs. Hennings, walking up with a covered dish. Marisol blocking the doorway with a tight smile, sending her away confused. The next morning at 6 a.m., the camera caught Marisol carrying that same dish back out to her car. I'd watched my daughter-in-law systematically cut my wife off from every living soul on the street. I didn't sleep. I went through the mail Eleanor had left in the wooden bowl by the door. Underneath the bills, a bank letter confirming a new authorized signer on our checking account, Marisol, dated 2 weeks earlier. I don't bank online. I write checks. I balance a paper register. I had authorized nothing. Next, a letter from our financial advisor confirming a processed withdrawal request from our IRA, $22,000, pending Eleanor's signature, already received. Then, a credit union letter, a $40,000 line of credit opened against our home equity. I had to walk the kitchen twice before I could sit back down. At the bottom of the bowl was a folded sheet of yellow legal paper, Eleanor's handwriting, but shaky now, a list of everything she'd signed over in 3 weeks. The last line was the deed to our house. Underneath, in tiny letters, "I am so sorry." I didn't know how to stop her. I put my head down on the table and cried like a man who just understood something he didn't want to understand. My wife had been scared alone in her own home of someone we'd welcomed into our family. When I stopped shaking, something colder and steadier took its place. I am not a violent man, but sitting there at 3 o'clock in the morning, I understood exactly why some men become one. I didn't become one. Instead, I made a list. Our lawyer, Carlton Pewitt, first thing at 8. The bank when it opened. Deputy Reyes, who ran the county's elder fraud unit, I still had her card from a talk she'd given Eleanor's bridge group. And hardest of all, figuring out what my son knew. At 5 EMAS, I cooked breakfast: bacon, eggs, toast, grapefruit with sugar, the way Eleanor likes it, and brought it to her on a tray. She looked at it and started sobbing. Real sobs this time. Years of held breath coming loose. She told me why she'd stayed quiet. Marisol had convinced her I had a bad heart, that the stress of knowing would kill me, that then it would be just the two of them forever. Marisol had shown her photos on her phone, claimed I'd met someone in Tulsa and wasn't coming back. She'd come at night with papers, said it was to protect the house from debts I'd supposedly run up. None of it was true, and I told her so, looking her dead in the eye until she believed me again. I locked every door, chained the front, wedged the slider, checked every window. I told her, stay in bed. Don't answer the door or the phone. Let me handle everything. But write down everything Marisol said and did. We'd need it. Then I spent the morning figuring out how to download every camera clip onto a thumb drive. At 8, I called Carlton's office. His secretary heard something in my voice and got me in for 10 guys. I called Deputy Reyes and left a message. Then I drove to the bank. Tatum, the branch manager I'd known 15 years, looked at the authorized signer letter and asked me straight, had someone been taking advantage of my wife, a family member? Yes. She froze the account, opened a new one in my name only, and pulled 2 hours of transaction history. ATM withdrawals I'd never made, checks to cash, transfers into an account that traced back to Marisol personally, including a $9,000 withdrawal in a single day. Conveniently, just under the federal reporting threshold. That told me this wasn't her first time doing something like this. Carlton listened to the whole story with his eyes closed, the way he always does. When I finished, he opened them and told me plainly, this wasn't a family dispute. It was multiple felonies, and he needed to know whether I wanted this handled quietly within the family or wanted her to face full legal consequences. I thought of my grandchildren. 7 and 4, kept away for 3 weeks over a fabricated stomach bug. I want every consequence the law allows, I told him. Then we do it right, he said. No confrontation, no tipping her off. 48 hours to build an airtight case. Duress, elder abuse, every document nullified, a warrant in hand. Marisol called 4 times that day. We let it go to voicemail. Her sweet voice checking in, worried, loving. Eleanor closed her eyes every time. The next morning, Daniel came back from a hunting trip, off-grid the whole week, and called from the road, furious. 15 voicemails from Marisol claiming Eleanor was having a breakdown and I'd come home yelling. I told him to come to the house alone without telling her. He came, because he's a man who shows up when his father uses that voice. I walked him through everything. The footage, the bank records, the deed, the withdrawal letters. He went quiet, then physically sick. He'd been told Eleanor was depressed and embarrassed, told to stay out of it. He didn't know about the money. He thought the $15,000 that appeared in their savings was a real estate commission Marisol had earned. It wasn't. I watched my son's face age 5 years in a single conversation, and I knew, the way I've known that face since the day he was born, that he hadn't been part of it. I told him what I needed, nothing. For 1 more day, act normal. Don't warn her. He agreed, then asked what to tell the kids. Tell them Grandma got sick and is getting better, I said, and next weekend they'll come make biscuits with her. He hugged me like he was 7 years old again. The rest moved fast once it started. Carlton filed the paperwork. Reyes got her warrant. They picked Marisol up at the real estate office on a Friday afternoon, walked her out in handcuffs in front of every coworker she had. Daniel filed for divorce that day and was granted emergency custody that night on the strength of the criminal charges alone. The deed was nullified within a week, the IRA restored within 3, the bank absorbing every dollar that had left the checking account because Tatum fought for us personally with the fraud department. The criminal case took 14 months. Marisol's lawyer argued consent, that Eleanor had freely signed everything, that this was a family financial matter, no coercion involved. Carlton played the security footage of Mrs. Hennings turned away at the door with her casserole. Then he played the audio Eleanor had secretly recorded in week 2. Once she'd figured out the voice memo app on her own phone, out of pure fear. Marisol's voice, sweet as ever, telling her she'd never make it through the winter alone, that she couldn't even cook anymore, that I'd come home and put her in a home and forget her, that Marisol was the only one who'd ever take care of her. So, sign the paper.
Marisol got 6.5 years, will serve at least 4, owes every dollar back with interest, and is barred from coming within 500 feet of Eleanor or the grandchildren for the rest of her life. Eleanor didn't bounce back overnight. Nightmares for months. She wouldn't stay alone in the house at first. She saw a counselor at the county senior center who specialized in elder abuse every week for the better part of a year. Slowly, the weight came back. The next spring, she started gardening again. She's still the strongest person I've ever known, but she's different now, quicker to lock a door, a little more careful with people who are a little too generous. Daniel moved in with us for 3 months while the divorce finalized. His old bedroom, the kids in the guest room, Saturday mornings full of cookie flour and noise. He and I rebuilt the back deck together that fall, mostly in silence, and somewhere in the sawdust and the shared work, we found our way back to okay. I think about that drive home from Tulsa more than I should. 300 miles of country radio and gas station coffee, picturing my wife safe in the dirt among her tomatoes, having no idea what I was actually driving toward. What I learned that year is this. Every single thing that happened to Eleanor happened because someone made a choice. Marisol chose to volunteer. She chose to walk in with that first set of papers. She made 100 small choices over 21 days, and every one of them was a door she could have turned back through and didn't. And every good thing that followed was also a choice. Carlton picking up the phone before 9,000 in the morning. Tatum deciding to fight the fraud department for 2 strangers she'd known for 15 years. Mrs. Hennings trusting her gut about a casserole that didn't come back the way it should have. Eleanor, at 65, terrified, figuring out how to record a voice memo because some instinct told her she'd need proof one day. There is no luck anywhere in this story. There is only what people do when nobody is watching, and what they do the moment someone finally is. If you have parents in their 60s or 70s, even the strong ones, even the ones who insist they're fine, check on them yourself, not through the person who so generously offered to check on them for you. Show up unannounced, call the landline, not the cell. Notice if the handwriting on the grocery list has started to shake. Notice if the garden's gone to seed. And if you're the one in your 60s or 70s, then someone in your life has started managing who gets to reach you, answering your phone, turning people away at your own front door, telling you things about your husband or your children that don't sit right in your gut. Trust that feeling. Find a way to make one phone call. Find a way to leave one note somewhere it'll be found. The person who loves you and lives far away wants nothing more than to know. And get a camera. A $40 camera in the eaves of a garage gave me 3 weeks of proof that put a predator behind bars. You don't need to check it every day. You just need it there. A month after Marisol's sentencing, Eleanor and I were out pulling dead annuals on a cold, gray November morning. She straightened up slow, the way she always does, dirty glove on her hand, and told me what had kept her holding on through all 21 days alone in that house. He is going to come home, and he is going to know. I put my trowel down for a minute. I came home, I told her. I always will. I know, she said, and went back to weeding. So did I. The light was thin and gold. The tomatoes that survived the frost still red on the vine. And my wife was beside me, and we were home.